Universal Pictures presents a new League of Heroes that step to a different beat. What a terrible tagline.
Yeah,
it is
bad.
a terrible tagline.
We're not your classic heroes, we're the other guys.
That's
Also
fine.
bad.
This,
No, that's fine.
This summer, expect the unexpected.
What?
And also, they're not your average superheroes.
Just like not even trying.
Yeah, no one tried. With
It speaks for itself, honestly.
Yeah.
You see who's in it. Time to go. You don't even need a tagline.
I think
they're number one. Everyone else is number 2 or lower. Is right there.
I'm convinced the reason this movie did not do well in theaters is because the taglines are terrible.
Probably.
Really,
That's it.
Really missed opportunity.
You know what I'm thinking about right now, Eddie? I'm thinking about the first night we teamed up. I'm thinking about a little oath we took at a certain bar downtown. Roy, don't. I swear that I will fight crime and oppose injustice in any form, at any hour.
I've got kids. You understand what that means?
And if I ever break this oath, a brick should fall from a building of great height and chip a little chunk off my skull.
And my brain gets exposed to the oxygen, and I die.
Your words, Eddie. Your words.
This is episode 267 of I Be Suffer. I'm Big Billy Hillbilly.
I'm the Waffler.
I am
Evil Devil Woman.
PMS Avenger.
The best. As you could tell, we are not talking about the trial of the Screaming Forehead.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about
Called an audible.
an absolute banger. Because we got to talk
The best
about
movie.
The Spleen. We're going to talk about Mystery Men.
Yeah.
A movie that was going to happen eventually on this podcast, but once Paul Rubens died, I was like, executive decision.
Happening
Pushing this back.
now.
We could talk about something with Paul Rubens. And Mystery Men. Perfect movie. At least to two of us. I don't know what Katie thought yet.
Extremely underrated.
It's so good. Like, the only criticism I have of it is a little long. Like, a 2-hour comedy, like, I don't necessarily ever want. But, like, I honestly don't feel, like, it doesn't, I feel like I don't feel the fatigue as, like, most 2-hour comedies with this one.
Yeah. It's paced pretty well.
Yeah. It's just, it is still, like, I forgot. And anytime I go to watch it, I'm like, God damn it, I forgot this is 2 hours. But, like, I don't know, the cast is
Totally worth it.
So good that,
Captain
like,
Amazing get melted.
well, like, because I guess I feel like a lot of the really long comedies I think about are, like, the Judd Apatow ones, where I'm like, this sucks,
Oh, yeah.
don't do this.
The Hangover and shit.
Yeah, but
Like,
I feel like
knocked
the cast of this one makes it, like, you don't really feel that, like, 2 hours. It's pretty great. Yeah.
Incredible cast.
Oh, man.
Janine Garofalo doing the most.
She's so good in it. Fucking William H. Macy just killing it.
His deadpan delivery on everything.
Yeah, he's so good. Like, I think, and I mean, like, even Ben Stiller, like, killing it as, like, Mr. Furious. It's just so good. Again, another movie I started, and I was like, wait, did I not know fucking James Woods was in this? And it was Jeffrey Rush.
I was about to say,
he's
wait, what?
strongly channeling James Woods in this.
It, like, because at the beginning,
Yeah,
like,
agree.
when he first appears, like, until I got, like, a really good look at his face, I was like, I don't remember James Woods being this guy. And then I was like, oh, wait, thank God.
Same with, is that House on Haunted Hill?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that's the
literally
one,
about
yeah.
to say that. I
Yeah,
feel like
he's
they,
super James Woods in that.
Yeah, they do give off a quality of each other. And I was literally going to say the same for House on Haunted Hill, because I sometimes forget who it was. And then I'm like, no, wait, no, that's not James Woods.
It's like
Jeffrey Rush is like good, like the good clone of James Woods.
Well, yeah, he looks like him, but I was like, the entire time I'm like, there's no way anyone convinced James Wood to do like an accent for this. Like he could not pull this off.
No.
And then like once I got like a close up of his face, I was like, oh, that's right, this is that fucking dude from House on Haunted Hill that I always confuse with James Woods.
Yeah.
So, Kit and I obviously fucking love this movie. We've talked
Huge
about
fan.
it a lot. Katie, is this a first time watch?
No, I have definitely seen this before, but not recently enough that I really remembered anything that happened in it. So, like, it's been a while. And I am going to disagree a little bit and say that I do feel like it was a little long for me.
I think it's a little different where, like, Kit and I have probably seen it enough times that, like, I think knowing what's coming, like, you don't feel that. Because I feel like the same way at this point, like, with, like, Avengers Endgame and shit, where I'm like, I don't feel that runtime because I just know what's happening.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But overall, I think, like, this movie came out in 1999, and I feel it held up extremely well. Like, it is... I personally love Ben Stiller. I didn't remember that he was in this until, like, the movie started, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so... Every single time a person showed up, I was so excited. Kel Mitchell, so excited. Ben Stiller, very excited.
I guess, like, if I remember correctly, I remember reading that, like, he had auditioned and didn't get the role, or, like, wanted a different role, and they were trying to find a character for him to play or something, and somebody just threw off the line about, like, an invisible boy, but, like, can only be invisible when no one's looking, and they were like, done. Perfect. Genius. Because, like, finish what you were saying about watching it, and then I'll talk about
so I recall liking this movie whenever I had seen it, and, like, I don't know, you obviously the bowler is, like, an extremely iconic character from this movie. Like, I feel like you see her image all over the time anyway. So I felt like I was, like, more familiar with this movie than I think I actually was. And so watching it today, it probably is the first time in, like, I don't know, 15 years at least that I'd seen it. And I still found it mostly really funny. And I thought it held up really well. I liked the kind of, like, dynamic between Hank Azaria and William H. Macy and Ben Stiller, I thought was really fun. There's, like, a lot of parts in the movie where Paul Rubens, who of course is, like, so good in this, and Kel are, like, partnered together, and they're, like, so sweet together. So I thought, like, the dynamic between everybody was, like, really good. This is just, like, an interesting take on, like, because, like, we talk about DC stuff all the time too, where, like, a lot of those people don't have actual powers, and this is, like, a real life take on it, where if you were just like, and you have is it Captain Amazing?
Yeah.
Who is kind of like the only one who...
Well, he doesn't even have powers. He's like this universe's Superman sort of thing.
Exactly, because he's, like, rich, and the whole, like, joke about him, about people not realizing that, like, him being a person, Lance, is like being the benefactor to Captain Amazing, and nobody realizing, like, there's, like, so many subtle little, like, jokes and nods to actual superhero stuff that I was, like, super fun. But even if you don't know anything about any of that, just, like, the comedy itself between these people who are, like, pretty iconic at this point. Eddie Izzard's in it. Like, what? Crazy. Tom Waits? I don't know. I think it was great. I think it was great.
Tom Waits is killing it because he's doing all of these insane hand motions, and it's because he had to write
Crazy.
all of his dialogue on his hands because he's constantly saying these like extremely long
Insane
words he
shit.
couldn't remember.
Yeah. Well, and that like joke in this to me was so funny too, because they would just like throw out these like really insane like words together, like isn't that the proton asphyxiator, blah blah blah, just like nonsense shit, but like it was like a staple of a thing. It was like a real thing in the world, which to me just was like very funny. So like I said, I thought it was a little bit long for like what happens, but overall I really enjoyed it.
I think the best decision in this movie is the casting of Paul Rubens, where like everyone else is very sort of like not even keeled, but like none of them are really like going off the handle with their acting, except
They're not
him,
super weird,
who's mostly
Yeah.
screaming, like, and just being a fucking weird
The
Paul
fucking
Rubens
weirdo.
character.
Yeah.
So Mystery Men.
Also,
oh, good.
Wes Studi is the Sphinx,
Yes, very good.
the best.
I think one of the best jokes is the not goody mob.
Yeah, I laugh every time. Also, shout out Michael Bay showing up.
Yeah, him and who's the other person that's part of the fucking?
Oh, the frat boy.
Yeah, there's somebody else, and I feel like it was Sam Raimi, but I don't think that's correct. I'll figure it out while we're talking, but so
Dude, can we bring the brewskis?
So Mystery Men are
Brewskis.
from the Flaming Carrot comics, which I actually like conveniently read recently.
Yeah.
But the only two characters in the movie actually from the comics are the Shoveler and Mr. Furious. And everyone else is like a made up character for it. So it's very like it feels very 90s comic book movie where they're just like, "Oh, we're going to take this idea from the comics but just not do it at all like the comics."
Right, yeah.
And it also like feels like the one thing in this movie that just really is fucking great, I feel like, is the set design.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that a bunch of it is from like Batman and Robin, I believe, just reuse sets for Batman and Robin.
I feel
or like Batman Forever, one of those two.
Yeah, when I was like looking at the set designs, specifically in Casanova Frankenstein's like mansion,
What a name.
it's so like intricate, and even like the gate outside of his house, I was like, this is really giving like, to me, I was like, oh, Batman vibes, but like I obviously didn't know that, so that's so cool.
It was Batman Forever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can tell. I mean,
It rocks. Every scene just looks. Oh, Ricky Rackman is the other person that's part of the frat boys.
That's incredible.
I loved the frat boys.
The fucking
I don't love
the
frat boys, but I like the idea.
The super villain teams in this are incredible. Yeah, we can get into it if whatever notes you took.
Okay. I mean, I took regular notes, but again, highly recommend just watching it because the thing that I love, it does. It's really fun, especially if you're like wanting to watch some, like, I don't know. There's a lot of stressful stuff to watch, and this is not one of them. The thing that I love so much about this group. Well, first of all, Hank Azaria, his character is like not really what I would call serious, but between like him, William H. Macy, and Ben Stiller and them are both like kind of like straight guys to eat, you know what I mean? So it's like whenever they're having their like diner thing and they're like having their back and forth and they're like arguing or like making fun of each other, it's just like so subtle that I think the effect is so funny. So I feel like definitely just go watch it. I don't have like a ton of the jokes written because it's like, I don't know. It's just like, yeah.
I think the funniest fucking joke of all time in a superhero anything is the idea that a character that named Mr. Furious that doesn't actually seem to be that angry. He just seems to be kind of perturbed all the time.
Like, literally. I feel like you're Captain Furious, actually.
I'm 100%. I'm very angry a lot. I'm the real version of it.
Rage is building. The scene where, like, we'll get to it, obviously. The scene where he's, like, quote-unquote, like, hulking out and, like, beating up the car made me laugh so hard. Because it's just, like...
He's like trying to pull off the fucking like Chrysler logo or whatever.
This movie doesn't work without Ben Stiller being in it. I think you needed him as that character, and he like wasn't gonna do it. I think Janine Garofalo like talked him into it.
What a
God bless her.
You need. I love like my specific kind of comedy too. Like during this time was I like loved anything with Ben Stiller. Like I know like all the words to Zoolander. I found that movie so funny, even though it's probably like extremely stupid. And this is like still the same era of like him being in Heavyweights, where he's like a serious character, but like very much not because of the way he plays them. I just love him so much. I think he's great.
This is like around the time, probably like right after this, that I stopped caring about most of his career, when he starts getting into the like Meet the Fockers and like Night at the Museum type shit. Yeah, like all that stuff. But like he was fucking incredible in like the mid to early 90s. Like I've talked about it on here before. His TV show on MTV is like one of the funniest like sketch shows I've ever seen. Versus like him, Janine Garofalo, Bob Odenkirk, and Andy Dick, I think were the 4 cast members, maybe one other person I can't remember offhand, but he was so good, and like he's always good in these sort of I haven't seen Zoolander in a while, but I back that as like a good Ben Stiller comedy. The fucking gasoline fight, very funny.
I can't even get started on it because I will literally quote the entire movie. I cannot. It's like definitely one of my favorite
Everybody
movies.
strap in for the entire retelling of Zoolander with Katie doing every impression.
I will do it. We rewatched it like a couple of years ago, and I still extremely felt that it held up. But anyways, okay. We're here for Mystery Men.
We got to talk about Kinka Usher's only movie.
Yeah, what's
what
up
a
with
career.
that?
He was a commercial. He directed commercials before, and got this movie, and like immediately it was like, I'm never making a movie again. This sucks. I'll go back to my like 1-minute commercials.
You know what?
I think there was
more people need to do that.
Well, there was a shit ton of like studio interference into this movie during the production that then he was just like, fuck it, I don't have to work with this.
I mean, fair.
Worked out.
Released
one perfect movie.
One perfect movie. Move on to commercials. Okay, so this movie starts at nighttime. The cityscape of Champion City. Amazing. And we're immediately seeing statues of who we will come to find out is Captain Amazing. Great name. It's Greg Kinnear. Playing a perfect, like...
He's such a good, like, dickhead in this movie.
Yes.
Total douchebag.
That's a good word for it. He plays such a good dickhead. So, it's like a statue of him in the city, as well as, like, advertisements. He's, like, pretty much... His, like, suit being just, like, full of, like, product placement patches made me laugh so hard.
He's literally just wearing, like, a fucking, like, a NASCAR driver's fucking outfit.
Literally, yeah, and I love that. So funny. And there's like also ads throughout the movie of like him endorsing toothpaste and like shit like that. So funny to me. And we see what appears to be an old person party. I'm not really sure what the situation is.
Called a lemon party, here. Katie.
Is it really?
No, a lemon party is when a bunch of old people get together and fuck.
Oh. Ooh.
There's a very good joke on 30 Rock that took me a while to get. It took me a couple rewatches where Liz Lemon's dad is just like, it's not a lemon party without old Dick.
No. I can't think about this any longer. They're just, having food, hanging out. It's, I guess it might be like a nursing home thing. And a group...
Tom Waits is trying to get laid.
Oh, yeah, he's there for the women. So they're just like having a good time or whatever. And then a group called the Red Eyes, which is just like one of the little gangs, bust in and start like stealing stuff and also eating cake. Why not?
Artie Lang, again, I always forget he's in this, but him taking that fistful of cake.
Yes. So
Why
gross.
wouldn't you? Delicious. Looked good to me. And they're kind of just like wrecking up the place, causing havoc. People are screaming. This is where we meet Blue Raja, who, like, to be fair, a little bit of a not PC character, but other than that,
he's British. We can make fun of the British.
Other than that, the movie actually was just like very like nothing problematic. I don't think, except for like this character. But I mean, it's
Depends on how you feel about disco.
Okay. So we meet Blue Raja, who his like power is that he throws.
He's the master of
forks.
Silverware.
The master forker, yeah. And as well as the shoveler, which is William H. Macy, and he looks kind of like a coal miner, actually.
He looks
but he's got a shovel.
Way better in this than the comics version. The comics version, he's just wearing like literally, I think like just overalls and has a shovel.
Seems not very safe.
Yeah, he's
then
just got like purple overalls with a big S on the front and like in a shovel, and he's just carrying a shovel.
Perfect. So it's Blue Raja. I wrote Blue Raja, Shoveler, and Ben Stiller. His name is Mr. Furious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's wearing all black because he's mad all the time. He's brooding. And they show up to like stop the Red Eyes, and it mostly doesn't work because they're not very good at fighting. And they kind of get the shit kicked out of them, as well as accidentally hurt each other.
Very good.
And it's absolute chaos. Eventually, Captain Amazing crashes in through a window, defeats the Red Eyes, and is like, "Oh, I'm here. It's me. I'm here. I did it. Whatever." And so and Ben, I don't know. I'll probably just call him Ben Stiller. Sorry. He is like, "Oh God, this like fucking asshole's here. Like whatever. Like we totally had this. Like we didn't need his help or whatever."
Fucking Shoveler and Blue Raja are like starstruck.
Literally. And they go over to like greet him like, "Oh hey, like thanks for showing up and helping us." And Captain Amazing obviously does not know who they are and is like, "Oh sorry, no autographs." And they're like, "No, like we were here we were here to like help and everything." And he's just like, "Oh, you're superheroes."
I love how he talks to him like he can't tell that they're adults. He just thinks they're like children.
Like they're just like fans, yeah. And meanwhile, and then he's just kind of like, "Okay, well, great to meet you. See ya." This is when Dr. Heller comes up and introduces himself to the Shoveler and says like he's a weapons designer. And he's like, "Here's my card. If you need weapons, like let me know." And the Shoveler's just kind of like, "Okay, guy. See you later." Outside, Ben Stiller kind of has like a back and forth with the police because they're like making fun of him essentially. And you just kind of get the sense from this that like they are superheroes, but like not really. They kind of suck. I mean, you know.
Gotta start somewhere.
One of the reporters makes a comment to Captain Amazing about how he feels about how he lost his Pepsi sponsorship. Sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. And he kind of has a meltdown in the car about it. And he like is talking to his like PR guy, I guess, or whatever. And he's just like, "Well, it's fine." And he's basically just talking about how there's no more supervillains because Captain Amazing has like taken care of all of them. So there's kind of like nothing to do. And so people aren't really as interested in him anymore. And
Deathman is dead.
Yeah,
Sad.
Poor Deathman died.
R.I.P.
Maytel, enough. I don't know if you can hear her, but she is.
She's upset about Deathman.
She is.
Trying
She's
to go bother
sad
Chris.
about it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to maybe let Mrs. Furious out because she is being yeah, so he's basically just like, yeah, you know, like, I don't know, you're not really relevant anymore. There's no supervillains. And he's kind of like, interesting. And he starts formulating this idea. Meanwhile, we get the parole hearing at what they call asylum. It's like a prison for like the all of the supervillains that he's like locked up. Yeah, like yeah. And the parole hearing is for Casanova Frankenstein, which might be one of the greatest names I've ever heard.
So good.
So good.
The combination of that name and Jeffrey Rush playing it.
I mean,
that accent.
Those fucking insane rings on his hand. So good.
Yes, so love it. One of the women on the parole board, we find out is a psychiatrist, says that, oh, he's completely cured. And then he like gives this speech. He like waxes poetic, but essentially what he's saying is like, yeah, he's cured. He's not going to be evil anymore.
Reading from his grocery list.
This is when Captain Amazing comes in, aka Lance, whatever the fuck his name is, as a civilian. And so this is like one of those situations where most people don't realize that Lance is Captain Amazing because he's just wearing glasses, and Captain Amazing doesn't wear glasses. So good.
There's been like proof in like real life that actually works. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Henry Cavill, but I feel like there was somebody that played Superman that actively went into like New York City with just like a pair of like glasses on, and no one recognized him.
Yeah, I don't remember the term, but there is a term for it, and it's like the same kind of principle where like if you're going to school and you see your teacher at school all the time, maybe you go somewhere and you see them and you can't place like who they are, or you don't recognize them because like in your mind they don't exist outside of school, like that kind of thing. So like I get it, I guess, but I feel like if you're Greg Kinnear, no one's gonna not recognize you. That's just my
hey,
opinion.
It's the dude from Talk Soup.
So he comes in and he says that he has a note from Captain Amazing, and the note is essentially saying, yeah, Casanova Frankenstein's probably fine, like go ahead and let him out. Let's see what happens. He's totally fine. So this is what he pretends to read a note that Captain Amazing wrote, and it's his grocery list. And so they release him. Meanwhile, the boys, who is Shoveler, Blue Raja, and Ben Stiller,
Two of them get character names. One of them is the actor name.
One of them is Ben Stiller playing himself. Are at they always like meet up at this little like spot, and I don't really mention it till later because I didn't really know if it was relevant, but there's a waitress there that like the entire time Ben Stiller's like hitting on sort of, and she thinks he's a creep, but that doesn't matter till later. But anyways, they're there and they're arguing because Ben Stiller wants to hire a PR team to like help them get out their name as like superheroes or whatever, and the other two are essentially just like, I can't afford to do that, like we don't need to do that or whatever. And then they start making fun of each other's powers and stuff. They're having this like little back and forth that's very funny. And then Ben Stiller is the one that says very clearly Lance is Captain Amazing. He's not like a mysterious benefactor, like he is himself. Like it's him. And
everyone sighs and rolls their eyes.
Like not this
like,
again.
yeah.
Not this shit again.
Yeah. I love it. I love that so much. Then we see, I didn't catch or write down what their individual names are, but they're just the Disco Boys. One of them is Eddie Izzard, and the other one is
Tony C and Tony P.
Yeah. Okay. Duh. How could I not remember that? The Tonys, the Disco Boys, and they see them and they're kind of like, oh, that's weird, like why are they in town again? But the Shoveler says that it is 10:30 and he needs to go home because his wife will be mad at him. And Blue Raja's also like, yeah, I gotta go by. And then Ben Stiller is just like, it's okay, because he's gonna go into lone wolf mode, which is him struggling to start his motorcycle for 10 minutes, and it is very funny. Shoveler goes home. We meet his wife and his kids, and essentially his wife is like, you know, you need to quit being the shoveler. Like, you've been doing this for so long. You have a family. You're a good husband and you're a good dad, but you're not a superhero kind of like situation. And then one of his children says, I believe in you, Dad. And then the wife is like, don't believe in him, or something like that. Okay. At home, this part was very funny to me. Blue Raja is at his house, which is like this beautiful old Victorian house, and he's like in his bedroom that's like very made up with like, he's got like incense and tapestries everywhere, and he is practicing saying one-liners and throwing silverware, essentially. And then his mom comes in and is like, what are you doing in there? And then we find out that he is just like a regular white guy. He like does not have an accent normally, which, okay.
Not British at all.
He's not British. And I found that actually very funny. He's just like, what, Mom, what are you doing here? Like, after he's been talking this like very fanciful like English whatever, kind of like antiquated. He'd be, I don't know, you know what I mean, like that stereotypical like,
even to his friends when he's not like out fighting crime, which to me is the funniest bit.
Yeah, nobody
just
knows
like they're hanging out in the diner and he's still like, yes.
Yeah, indubitably, like that kind of thing. And the mom comes in and is just like, what are you doing in here? And he's like not wanting to let her in or whatever, and then she just asks if he's on the marijuana.
I think he is. And
he tries to like shut the door on her or whatever. Ben Stiller follows the Disco Boys to what ends up being Casanova Frankenstein's compound, and they kind of have just like a, I don't know, there's like some back and forth between Casanova has his psychiatrist there, who I assume is like his partner now, and they're just kind of like, you know, living it up and talking about how disco, you know, he was in jail for 20 years or whatever, and they're like, oh, the disco room, and they're like reliving disco. And then they are like, all right, here we're gonna start doing stuff, and in the distance we see that the asylum explodes. Ben Stiller sees this also, of course, and this is when Captain Amazing shows up and at the Casanova's house, and they kind of have like a little back and forth where Casanova Frankenstein is like, hey, I'm not doing nothing, what are you talking about? And he was like, can you please remove that astral projector from your pinky ring? And they just keep saying like just the most ridiculous names of things, and this goes on and on until eventually he's like, you know, he's got to like disengage all of his hidden weapons or whatever, and then Captain Amazing is like, oh, just what I thought, and he picks up what he thinks is like the detonator to the bomb that exploded the asylum, and he's like, you were always so stupid, leaving out evidence where anybody could see it. But it's not actually a detonator. It is a box that shoots out chloroform. And so Captain Amazing, of course, huffs the chloroform and passes out. So funny.
But delivering the best line in the film of, "Ah, dang."
Ben Stiller goes to work, which is at a junkyard, and he has this like back and forth with his boss.
Junket.
And essentially they're just like showing that like people don't take him seriously, right? Because he's like, I'm getting so angry, and she's like, Junket, no!
Him just like hitting this fucking tank thing with a fucking like crowbar is so funny.
He's like, it's like an armored vehicle. I can't just take it apart. There's like a stat scene where she's like grabs a hold of his shirt and she's like, you Junket now. She's like literally screeching at him, and he like lifts up like a stress ball and is just like
I just saved
things
your
that
life.
Ben Stiller like does with his face, he's like shaking and his face is red and he's just like squeezing it and he's like rage returning to normal and he's just like, you're lucky I had this thing, and it's just like it's ridiculous.
Little sucker just saved your life.
While he's working, he hears a news report about how Lance, whoever his name is, the millionaire, whatever, has gone missing, and they contacted Captain Amazing to help find him, but they haven't heard back from him. Weird. So that night, the boys sneak onto Casanova Frankenstein's compound, and they're not very, they're arguing the entire time, as they do. The Disco Boys come out, and they all have guns, and Ben Stiller's just like, that's it? Your superpower is that you have guns? And then as more of the Disco Boys come out, they all have like a lead pipe and like different kinds of weapons, and they're just like, haha, okay, whatever. But then they just get beat up really bad. Back at the diner, the scene kind of lasts a little bit longer, but essentially they just decide that they're going to recruit more team members to like help save Captain America. I mean, Captain Amazing.
Yeah, Captain America.
Captain America. Because, Ben Stiller tells them that he's seen, that he knows that he's keeping him hostage or whatever. The first one that they meet is Kel, who is amazing. He is the Invisible Boy. And
this is where my favorite line is, that where they go in and Kel, they all go walking around like through the house, and Kel's just like, hey Dad, I'm going to my room with 3 strange men.
That's like one of the only lines that I have written down. I laughed so hard. His dad's just like, okay.
His like nonchalant delivery, and the dad like
so excited about it,
like really not even responding is so funny.
Or noticing, don't even care. 3 grown men also. So they go into his room and they talk to him a little bit, and they find out that his power is invisibility. He becomes invisible, but only when no one is looking at him. And they're like, well, how do you know? Like, they're trying to figure out how his power works, and he's essentially just like, oh, well, when I go invisible, I can feel it. And then when I look at myself, I'm just not invisible anymore. And they're just like, okay, this kid obviously is...
What a fucking good idea.
Very great. And so they're basically just like, okay, whatever. And he's just like, listen, like, I have a network. Like, I go to all the costume shops and all of this stuff. And so, like, I have connections with other people who are superheroes. So they're kind of just like, okay, fine. So they go back to the diner, and they're kind of like trying to figure out how they're going to get all these people together to do interviews. And this is where we meet
the Spleen.
The Spleen, which is Paul Rubens.
Killing it.
Incredible look to him in this movie. Because
like a patchwork, like hippie jacket thing.
So many like they've made him up to look like a nerdy like high school guy kind of, but he's like very obviously an adult.
He's so greasy.
He's
just
greasy.
slathered in grease.
He has just an incredible lisp about him. That sometimes you can't even like understand what he's saying, and it's just like such a strange character. But basically he like tells this.
They always give him dialogue too, where it's just like at one point, like I think they're getting, maybe when they're getting ready to go into battle, or maybe they're practicing, I forget, where the Shovel's just like I'll take point, you like, let's triangulate, and the Spleen's just like equilateral or isosceles. It's like with
so
this like
funny.
lisp.
Yeah, I love it. And so basically he demonstrates that his power is that he can aim and knock people out with his farts.
Perfect.
Absolutely, why not? He who smelt it now also dealt it, or whatever he said.
He was cursed to be the one that always dealt it.
Yeah. So they decide to throw a barbecue party to get people to come and try out for their team, right? And they have to have it at the shoveler's house because he's got a pool and his wife is none too pleased about it. And she's basically just like, if anybody throws up in my pool, I'm divorcing you. And she's... So this is where we meet, like, a few of the...
Biggest misstep in this movie is Dane Cook being in it.
Yeah, also...
Counterpoint, this is the best thing Dane Cook's ever done.
100%.
Easily.
The only good thing Dane Cook has ever done.
We should have launched him into the sun after this.
Yeah,
He fulfilled his only worthwhile role in society.
I have to agree with that.
I always forget he's in it. Then when he pops up, I'm like, God damn it. Now I remember Dane
I
Cook
am the
exists.
waffler, golden crispy, bad guys are history.
He's just so bad of an actor, like, that he even ruins that. I feel like you could have gotten easily someone else to do that role better.
Jack Black.
Yes. The fact that Jack Black isn't in this, travesty.
Yeah, what was he doing? I feel like
This
they
is
got...
He's doing Biodome.
I was going to say, this is probably pretty close to, like, he was probably doing Tenacious D at the time. They were, like, probably just getting ready to, like, blow up. This maybe Mr. Showish time.
So they hold tryouts. They do the Waffler, which is literally Dane Cook, like a blonde, crazy Dane Cook era. And his power is that he's got a waffle iron, and he'll either hit you with it or
Himself.
put it on your face, which, like, I don't understand how he would have power to the waffle iron. But I did think it was funny that he's wearing one of those, like, thermal undershirts that has, like, the waffle pattern, and then there's just, like, waffle burns on it, which was pretty funny.
Pretty good.
Then we meet Pencilhead, who I think
Doug
is Doug
Jones.
Yeah.
Amazing. He actually showed up in an episode of CSI. He was, like, not a main character. He was just, like, in a cold open, and I was like, oh, Doug Jones! And Chris was like, who? And I was like, don't worry about it, but wow, what the heck? Then we just, like, meet a couple other people. Ballerina Man,
I forget.
I don't know who that was.
One of them's Dana Gould. I just forget which one Dana Gould was. Dana Gould's like a comedian, but he was like a longtime writer on The Simpsons.
Yeah, I don't know. We also get, I'm at the bottom.
Squeegee Man.
Yeah,
Dana Gould is Squeegee Man.
That's right.
Can you feel the power?
Another fucking misstep in this movie. I'm taking it back. This is getting down to 3 stars now. No, like, how do you not have, like, the flaming carrot be one of the...
I don't know.
Like,
Maybe
I think they talked
one
of the trivia things is I think they talked about trying to insert him somewhere. They're like, it would have been too ridiculous. I'm like, come on. Have you seen this movie?
Yeah, right. There's, like, a bunch of other ones, right? There's...
The Bullfighter. He fights the bull.
PMS Avenger, which is the one that I said I thought was pretty funny. There's Pencilhead. We said son of Pencilhead. 2 power women who are dressed exactly the same that then proceed to fight. Super Vacuum Man, Reverse Psychologist. It just goes on. And essentially, at the end of the day, they're kind of just like, well, this sucked. Nobody's good. I don't really know what we're going to do. And then this is when the bowler shows up. And she basically, like, walks up and is like, hey, like, am I too late for tryouts? And they're just like, yo, whatever. And they're not really wanting to listen. And she takes out her bowling ball, which has a skull in the middle, which is, like, one of the coolest things ever, and does a ball trick with it. And then they're kind of, like, really impressed by her, and they're like, oh, okay. So then they're talking, and apparently the skull is her dad's head.
Another one of my favorite lines is when she's talking to Blue Raja, and he's like, wait, did you, like, put the skull in there? And she's like, no, the guy at the pro shop did it.
So we find out that basically, like, very good, that basically, like, her whole deal is that her dad was Carmine the Bowler, who used to be a superhero that people know, and he died mysteriously. He fell down an elevator shaft
onto some bullets,
which is what she says. And they're all kind of like, yeah, we did think that was suspicious. So, like, basically she's trying to get revenge for him. And yeah, his skull is in the ball and it talks to her. Amazing. Like, such a good character.
Her arguing with a completely silent bowling ball.
She's so
Very
good
good.
in this.
Love it.
She's
okay.
the best.
Yeah.
Give her her own thing.
She had
Give
a
her
bunch
her
of
show.
chances. They just none of it.
Yeah.
Because like she
After speaking out against the Iraq War, kind of.
what was that? But she also had that shit in the 90s where like she kind of got typecast as just like all you could play is like the lesbian best friend in the 90s or some shit, and like
or like weird goth person.
Yeah, sardonic alt girl.
Yeah. Like she's
great.
She still does like a shit ton of stuff. Like she still works really frequently, but it's always just kind of like an episode of a TV show, like here or there.
I think she still does weekly stand up in New York too.
Yeah, she still definitely does stand up. But it's like when you look through her like filmography, it's like 1 or 2 episodes of like a bunch of TV shows, or has like a small role in a movie.
Yeah.
She's in.
I'll never forgive America for doing this to Janine.
For shunning her, yeah.
She deserved the world.
She's in a movie called The God Committee, starring Kelsey Grammer and Julia Stiles.
What the fuck?
And Dan Hedaya.
She's in perfect film Dogma.
Oh, Dogma's so fucking good.
I love it so much. Okay. What? Okay, so yeah, so like everybody is like really jazzed about the bowler being there, except for of course Ben Stiller, who is just grumpy about everything all the time.
Yeah, he's Mr. Furious.
Yeah.
And so what happened? Everybody.
I'll say they're riding in the limo, and this is whenever they pass Casanova.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
So my problem is that, again, I abbreviated everybody, so it's like BS is mad, but BR and S and Wanner and S and IB, and it's just like, why did I do that to myself? So they're like everybody's excited except for Ben Stiller, of course. So later they're going on patrol and they pass Casanova, Frankenstein's limo, and they turn and start following them, but of course. Aww, he looks so peaceful.
Oh, Hooch. Yeah, he's fucking out.
Aw, he had a long day having to stay out of his house all day.
Hooch's favorite line is coming up here when they attack the limousine.
What is it?
Please don't correct me. It sickens me.
Yeah. Pantera's box you don't want to open.
I forget that Ben Stiller took that line. He changes it very slightly. God, it's from somebody. I can't remember who it was. Where it's like somebody essentially said that line in real life. I gotta figure out who it was now. I remember reading about it. I'll figure out what we're talking about it.
Okay, that's why I love to watch the bloopers of from movies that he's done, because he and Owen Wilson both do that thing where whenever they deliver a line, they'll change it and they just kind of keep whatever's the funniest, and it cracks me up. So they see the car, they start following, of course, the Disco Boy, the Tonys, and Casanova.
William Shatner, I guess, on something Star Trek, maybe. Let's see. While recording lines for the video game Star Trek Judgment Right, Shatner pronounced sabotage strangely and was asked twice to repeat the line. He finally blurted out, "Don't tell me how to act, it sickens me."
That really tracks, honestly. I love it.
Incredible.
Yeah, so they obviously notice that they're being followed, and they do this maneuver where they basically pull the limo up next to their shitty car, and they confront Casanova Frankenstein about Captain Amazing. Yeah. It's they confront CF about CA. this is when they're kind of having just like back and forth between like different people. The bowler goes over to whichever Tony is Eddie Izzard, and is essentially like having a standoff with him where he admits that he's the one that killed her dad, and that's not cool. And so basically what happens is that all of the mystery men get together and use their powers to essentially like lock them inside the car so that the spleen can fart in there. And then they just start like wailing on the car. Like Blue Raja is like scratching the car with his forks. The bowler like throws the bowling ball like through the windows and busts them. Meanwhile, Ben Stiller's on top being like, "Rage!" And he's just like jumping up and down. He's like saying whatever his one-lines are like consistently, but he's not really doing anything. And then he's just like, "People who shouldn't live in glass houses because then this happens." And he tries to like people's elbow the window, but it doesn't work.
Doesn't dent it even.
And he's like, "Ow!" And it's just like so funny because he's like quote unquote raging on the car, but he himself is not doing any damage to it.
Good.
And then essentially they just get in the car and drive away. And Casanova, Frankenstein, and them are just like, "What the fuck just happened?"
my favorite bit is Spleen runs up to the window and sticks his ass in and just farts in there, and they're all like, "Oh God."
I mean, it's powerful. So they all go to celebrate at a bar, and when they're kind of like getting to know each other a little bit, right? Like, Shoveler is like giving Invisible Boy like a heart to heart, like, "Don't worry, your powers will manifest when we need them to, like, we believe in you." And Bowler is talking to Blue Raja about how he's got mommy issues, which, yeah. Spleen also tries to like hit on her, and she's like, "No, I'm sorry, but no, please, no." And I'm like, "Girl, I feel you." So after they leave the bar, they come out to find that the disco boy.
Yeah, just the one.
Just one disco boy is there. They're all waiting there, and they're essentially just like, "We're gonna get you for trashing our car." And all of them like hold their guns up, and they're like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? And then mysteriously, all of the guns get cut in half, and they get scared and run. And Eddie Izzard is like, "We're gonna get you!" And he like jumps in a rickshaw, which I thought was so funny.
This is actually my favorite line. It was Eddie Izzard calling them 6 very nearly dead guys who are on a temporary reprieve.
There you go. Great. So they get saved, right? And this is when we are introduced to the Sphinx, who is a mysterious superhero.
Terribly mysterious.
Why do I have these watermelon on my feet? I don't remember telling you to do that.
I don't recall telling you to do that. And so basically he's like giving them a speech about how they're just too inexperienced to basically take on Casanova, Frankenstein and the Disco Boys. And he says a line I thought was so funny, where he's like, "You need to be like a wolf pack, not a 6-pack." They all basically are very into the Sphinx, like very excited, like wanting him to be the leader, wanting his help, and like of course Ben Stiller is mad about it because he, I think, thought of himself as the leader, even though like he's very much not a leader. And so then there's kind of like a montage of the Sphinx like training them and them doing like team building exercises. Again, Ben Stiller's like not really cooperating, and they sit down to make new costumes. This scene to me was extremely funny because they're having this like very serious conversation about trying to save the world. Meanwhile, he's like, "Where's the thimble? Do you have a thimble?" They're like literally hand sewing like their new
one
costumes.
Of them using like a loom?
Yes. It's very funny. And so basically, Ben Stiller calls out the Sphinx because he's like kind of like the stereotypical like wise figure where like everything he says is like not what's the word I'm trying to think of, like a saying or whatever, like if you don't control your rage will control you, like that kind of shit. And Ben Stiller calls him out on it, and it's basically just like, I don't like you, you suck, let's leave. But nobody will follow him.
Direct lines from the movie.
Literally. And then the Sphinx, and so basically Ben Stiller leaves, and they're like, well, what are we gonna do? And he's basically just like, well, it's fine, like we can figure out a way around losing the manpower. And he says, but we'll need more than forks and flatulence to save the day. Spleen looks so offended when he says that. It made me laugh so hard.
If I was Ben Stiller, I would simply learn to balance the tack hammer on my head to head off my foes with a balanced attack.
Yeah.
Well, he just doesn't understand.
And wear watermelon on your feet.
So weird. Okay. This is when Shoveler remembers having met Dr. Heller, who is the weapons specialist. So they go to see him at a abandoned amusement park that he lives at because he is a mad scientist. He's eccentric. And they go down there and have an extremely weird interaction with him. They basically find out that all of the weapons that he makes are actually non-lethal. And I thought his inventions were like super cool ideas. But at the time, they're just like, oh, non-lethal, like this isn't going to help us at all. And they're like, we're going to leave or whatever. So they go to leave, and Dr. Heller has a can that he throws into the air that turns into a barrel, which then explodes and creates a green tornado that throws the Spleen around.
Tornado in a can.
He thinks it's V cool. They're so excited about it. I'm like, all right, I like that. I like non-conventional stuff. So they go in, they test some of the other weapons. One of them is a shrink ray that shrinks your clothes.
Also very good.
Great. Then there's another thing that you shoot at two people and it makes them argue with each other or something.
A blame thrower.
There you go, blame thrower. Throws blame. This is when Ben Stiller, who has been hitting on this waitress the whole time, he's by himself, and she's kind of like, oh, like, where are your friends? And he's like, I don't have any friends. Everyone hates me. I'm a joke. She's like, just be yourself, kid. It'll be fine. And he walks her home. And she tells him to, like, go back to the friends. And he's just like, well, is there, like, an angry way I could, like, go and ask to be a part of the team? Because, like, that's kind of my thing, being angry and scary and stuff. And she's just like, okay,
I don't know
just
what
be
she's
yourself.
doing in this diner, because she's got to get back to her game show set at the mall. Because she was in Mallrats.
Well, she's a tough working girl. So the rest of the team is about to leave, and this is when Ben Stiller comes up, and the way that he initiates talking to Shoveler is that he asks if he's seen his day planner, which has a kitten on it that says hang in there. And this bit kind of goes on for a while, and then Shoveler's just like, why don't you just come with us? And he's like, okay, guess I will. And so he's back together. So now there is a party at Casanova Frankenstein's mansion. And it's basically just like a bunch of different kinds of like
all
their
the super
little
villains.
Yeah. And also Big Tobacco is there, which made me laugh so hard.
All the names
Great.
are so good. The frat boys, the not goody mob. Very good jokes.
So he's having a party, and like meanwhile, the mystery men obviously are like sneaking up to the house. There's like a bunch of stuff that I wrote that I just like scribbled out because I guess it doesn't, like, basically like Casanova Frankenstein is like giving this speech about how he's going to reveal something to them that is going to, I'm like, I don't really actually know what his plan is, obviously, because it gets foiled, but he's like trying to make the world in his image or something. And he's like, I'm glad you guys are here to like share in this, and like we're all back together being supervillains and stuff. And so the rest, like the mystery men end up sneaking in and discovering Captain Amazing, and like they're trying to free him from this machine, but Captain Amazing is like arguing with them, and he's like, flip the switch, and she's like, okay, and he was like, flip the switch again, and then they just like keep going back and forth, and they're like, wait, how many times are we supposed to flip the switch? And there's just like this long drawn out thing where like he's yelling at them and calling them like idiots and stuff, and they're just like trying their best to help, but they end up killing him.
Yeah.
Like
He gets fraculated.
He gets fraculated, which is that a beam shoots into him and kind of mutates him sort of into like a weird monster thing, and then he gets very crispy and he's dead. Oops.
It looks very
Seems
good.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it looks crazy. And so meanwhile, Casanova Frankenstein is like bringing his group of supervillains down to like show them that he's got Captain Amazing held captive. But they get there and he's dead, and at first he's like panicked. He's like, oh my god, and then he's just like, oh, he just plays it off. He's like, oh yeah, see, I killed him and now no one can stop us. And I was like, smooth. I assume that maybe he was gonna turn him evil or something. I don't really know actually. So the Mystery Men are like confused about the machine because they kind of like I think didn't realize how like serious the situation with Casanova Frankenstein actually was. And so they go back to him to ask him about the machine that, you know, they killed Captain Amazing with. And the Sphinx said like, and so he's basically just like, yeah, I've seen this machine. They basically say that like he got it from the asylum or something like that, and it's like pretty serious, right? And so the Sphinx is kind of just like, you know what, it's okay to run away sometimes. Like, it's probably fine. We don't have to do this. And they're all kind of just like getting cold feet, and they're like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't. And then Ben Stiller, wait, Sphinx is his name, but Shoveler. Shoveler's like, the one.
They see this pasta salad. My wife won't let me eat this, but it doesn't seem to matter now. Or egg salad, yeah.
Filled with cholesterol. That was a big fucking bowl of egg salad. That was like 24 eggs worth of egg salad.
Yeah, there's like 7 people there.
Well, and so yeah. So basically he like gives this speech about how he's like, you know, we're not the best at what we do, but like we're the only ones that can do this. So like we just have to go do our best, so we can't give up. And they're essentially like, yeah, they're like empowered. It's very heartwarming. So but then he's like, if you have anyone you want to say goodbye to, like probably you should do that. And so we see Blue Raja go back to his house where his mother finds him like getting the forks, and she's like, what are you doing? And this is when he reveals his superhero persona to her, and she is so excited about it. She gives him his great grandmother's fine silverware and is just like, I love it, would you speak in the accent more? And it's just like so sweet.
I'm the Blue Raja, mother.
I love it. I must away with me. Like, it's insane. Okay, so then we see
My
Shoveler.
British accent woke up Hooch. Sorry, pal.
Is there a Brit here?
He hates the British.
Yeah, he's on the
Son of a bitch.
How to get in here. Well, pest control didn't come, so, you know. So, the Shoveler goes... I don't really, like, totally understand his whole bit with his wife, but essentially she goes and he's like, I just wanted to say, like, I love you and goodbye. And she's like, if you leave now, like, I told you I was going to leave you. I won't be here when you get back. And he's just like, well, he's got to go save the world. So he leaves. Ben Stiller goes to say goodbye to the waitress, and he's essentially like, I would love to take you out. Like, I had a lot of fun walking with you. But if I don't call you, it's because I'm dead. And she's like, okay.
It's like, all right, weirdo.
I mean, fair, like, right? Like, fair. If I don't return your text message, like, I'm probably dead, you know? Then, before he leaves, she asks what his real name is. And this is so funny to me because he is not in costume, like, the way... he's not like Spider-Man. He's just, like, a guy wearing, like, all black, right? Like, you can see his face. like he's just a person. He's like not disguised at all, but she's like asking for his like real name, and he's like, my secret identity. Like, it's just so funny of a concept. And then he says that his name is Phoenix Dark. Phoenix
Dirk.
Dark
Phoenix.
Dirk. She's like bumbling
So
through it, and she's just like, oh, whatever. And he's like, no, Roy, my real name is Roy. And she's like, okay, don't, like, just go be yourself, like, you'll be fine. Then he kind of has like an identity crisis, because now he's being Roy and he can't remember how to be Mr. Furious, which insane. Meanwhile, like, Dr. Heller is like working on the battle bus thing from Mr. Fury, Ben Stiller's like junkyard or whatever, and they're like loading it with all the supplies they need. They finally suit up in all their new costumes. Very, very cool. Loved it. And Blue Raja says, "May the forks be with us." Perfect. Ben Stiller is like not into it at this point. He keeps trying to escape. But yeah. Meanwhile, like, they're in the battle bus, like, going towards Casanova Frankenstein's house, and Bowler and everyone else is, like, trying to say mean things to Ben Stiller to, like, make him furious again, and he's just, like, not really, like, she's like, doesn't that make you, like, mad? And he's just like, no. He's just, like, not really bothered by all the things they're saying, which is very funny. They crash the bus through the front gate and then through the front door of the mansion. Seems very scary. And then all of the villains who are like still having the party or whatever start shooting at them. Bowler turns on this magnet that's on top of the bus that like suctions all the guns as well as somebody's pants. The rest of the movie I have very abbreviated because it's like mostly fighting.
Yeah.
So they basically everybody, all of the villains who are left since their guns have been taken away, run into the disco room, and it has this like laser eye on the outside of the door where if you walk up to it, it turns you to stone essentially. And so
the way Paul Rubens says it, so incredible. It appears to be some kind of laser eye.
Looking.
And so they're basically like, how are we going to get up there without being seen? And this is Invisible Boy's time to shine. So basically, everybody turns around so that they're not facing him. And he is walking up to the laser eye like, I am a window. I am saran wrap.
Saran wrap.
I love it so much. And then he does actually like turn invisible. His clothes fall completely off. He does it.
Hero.
It's magic. He walks up to the door, he turns off the laser, and then when everybody turns back around, they can see him now up, and he's naked. And, but he did it. He did it. Amazing. I love it. They use all of those weapons we were talking about earlier, the blame thrower and the clothes shrinker thing to, like, fight through different gangs. The shoveler has this, like, long like fight scene through a hallway where he's like beating up different disco boys, and the Spleen ends up getting shot in the butt.
But he can still fart on people.
But it's fine. What did he say? This is the part where like him and Invisible Boy are just together like running from one of the gangs, and he's like he gets shot and he's like, oh no, and he's just like, oh, are you okay? And he says something like, let's check the cavalry or ammunition like check that. Or something. Yeah. But it's like really funny.
Ammunition check.
There you go. And he like pulls his finger for him and he like farts and like knocks all the guys out. It's very funny. Bowler, meanwhile, is trying to distract whichever Tony Izzard.
Tony P.
By saying, you know, he's like, yeah, I killed your dad. That's because I'm a killer and you're not. And she's just like, she's like having this back and forth with him because she's released Carmine, who I will remind you is a bowling ball, a skull and a bowling ball, who has flown through the back of the house and come up and basically like launched into Tony P or C or whatever. And like kills him. He like launches him into a couch and he's like fucking dead. And then the bowler is like, okay, I get to go back to grad school now. That was the deal. And I was like, I fucking love that. I love it so much. Somebody hire me to write her comic. I'll do it. I'm here. I'm gonna do it. Okay. Casanova Frankenstein reveals that he has had his men go and kidnapped Ben Stiller's waitress girl, and he's got her like, basically he's like on the top of this landing, and he shows Ben Stiller that he can't get up there because he has electrocuted the staircase, and he's like killed some of the frat boys, and he's like, see, I killed my own people, I don't care. And so Ben Stiller can't go up the stairs. And so he's like, oh, I'm getting very angry. I'm so mad. And he tries to, like,
climb a fucking
up
straight
the
up wall
somehow. And I don't know if maybe he was, like, trying to, like, punch into the drywall so that he could climb up, but it's not happening. So Blue Raja, like, throws some forks at the wall in increments so that Ben Stiller can climb up. Ridiculous. And he starts fighting with
Jeffrey Rush
Casanova
with the
Frankenstein.
fucking one like pinky nail.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
He, like, hisses and charges at him.
He's
James
got
Woods
like
could never.
No, absolutely not. There's no way. He's got like one very long golden pinky nail that has venom in it, I guess. Maybe.
I don't know what's in it. I
And-
think it just cuts you.
Well, it's fair.
It's just
and
unclean. Just
he's
dirty.
like, he never cleans it. It's got tetanus and everything else. He's like, and he's like, he's like swashbuckling at Ben Stiller's face. He does like, like cut him at one point, and he is basically just like, Ben Stiller's like, I'm really mad now. I'm serious, and he's like, yeah, we know you're angry, and he's like, no, I'm for real mad. But then like, his fighting doesn't change at all, so. It's great. Essentially, like, yeah. So yeah, they're fighting. The device, whatever it was called, the Crackalacker, is booting up like while they're having this like fight conversation thing, and it goes off and starts kind of like distorting the city, and it's like really hard to explain.
It essentially
the way the effect looks.
is making it like when you see somebody that like photoshopped a picture of themselves, but they forgot to fix the background, so the background just gets like wobbly,
warped. It's really unique looking. I'll say that. And so that's like happening
it
outside
starts
the city.
turning the city into the Black Hole Sun video.
Yeah, essentially. Ben Stiller eventually ends up throwing Casanova Frankenstein over the balcony and like down through the floor, like into the basement where the beam is, and he's like coming at the screen, and you see his face kind of like split in half and distort and stuff, and he dies. It's just pretty cool concept. I like it. Then they are like, what are we gonna do to like stop this beam or whatever? And so they do a group hug for whatever reason. And so basically they all like do a group hug and start inching towards the hole down to where like the beam machine is to, I guess, like protect themselves. And Bowler's essentially like, sorry, this is the only way. Like, we need some separation anyway. Like, it'll be fine. So she takes out Carmine and throws him down the hole, and he starts just like wrecking the place up or whatever. Then they all are trying to run out and escape the house as it is collapsing and eventually explodes. Then it kind of like fades to black. It opens up on a bunch of news crews like at the gates to the house being like, oh, there's like, he's been stopped, and these people like gave their lives to help us, and it's too bad we'll never know who they are. And then they all emerge. They're fine. And they introduce themselves like on the TV, you know, they introduce their names and like say like what their powers are or whatever. And then they're just like, oh, we're tired, like, let's go. And the newscaster is just like, well, I guess we won't know who they are, but we'll just thank these mystery men. And then the Sphinx is like, I know what will be called, the Super Squad. stupid.
Amazing.
And then we also find out that Carmine has survived. He's fine. The end.
Just a little crispy.
Fucking what a banger.
So good.
Incredible
It's
film.
very fun. Like I said, it's you must see. If you got here and you haven't seen it, should still go see it.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Watch it 30 times.
Yeah.
In
Especially
a row.
if you like 90s kind of like comedy stuff. It's not like it seems like it would be goofy, but like it's not really.
The
just
comedy
like-
is very like, it's not as absurd as I feel like people would expect it to be. Like, it's not straight up comedy. It's very like smart, I think.
Yeah. I
Very
agree.
good. R.I.P. Paul
Love
Reubens.
it.
Go watch that. And then
Yeah,
go watch
that's
him
so
on 30 Rock.
sad.
His episode of 30 Rock, incredible.
Yeah.
Bummer. Yeah. There's too many people that were cool that were just been battling cancer privately and then die.
I
like,
know.
recently.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Not a
like
fan.
in like some aspects, I really like respect that is like a very private thing, right? And you just because like they are in the public eye, I don't necessarily feel like they need to be telling people because it's like they're struggling. It's like their perception is one thing, but it does hit so hard when they like release the news and you're like with Chadwick
Boseman.
where like you didn't even know
Yeah.
at all. There was like no inkling, and it's so like I respect their privacy, but it is like hard to be shocked by the news.
I'll say between that and then William Friedkin dying yesterday, I was like, God damn it, man!
Yeah.
What a
Oh
week.
my god.
Yeah, not great, but
Hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, Mitch McConnell, hanging in there.
yeah, what the frick?
What?
Dumb piece of shit.
The picture of William Friedkin dressed up as Ali G is so funny, and then like to find out that
That's best.
that like I guess he admitted like pretty soon before dying that the counterfeit money that they made on To Live and Die in LA,
To Live and Die in LA.
that he actually had been using the whole time is so fucking awesome. Like, what a king.
Wow.
Absolute lunatic.
I guess he like hired like a professional counterfeiter to make this fake
Yeah.
money for the movie, and then admitted like pretty soon before dying that he's like, yeah, I spent that money.
Wow.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Hero.
Rest in peace.
There'll
Jason
never be
Bates.
another like him.
Yeah. Katie, did you have any other news?
I didn't know.
I saw
I
one
just-
today that was probably gonna make Kit very mad.
What is it?
Oh,
They're
no.
rebooting Street Trash.
Why?
Screambox is doing it, but
Oh my god.
the one upside,
It's not even anywhere
the-
real.
the-
That's not a real place.
The one thing that sort of has me intrigued is Vinegar Syndrome as a part of it. So I got a little bit of
Alright.
hope in there that maybe it's good, but I also watched that Cube remake.
Yeah.
That Screenbox, and it's not very good, so I don't know. I don't know who is asking for this, but Vinegar Syndrome being involved in the production of it gives me some slight optimism in it.
Oh, it's the dude who directed Fried Berry.
Yeah.
That's a bad movie.
As I was reading it, everything about it, I was like, no, until I got to Vinegar Syndrome being involved, and I was like, all right, well, maybe.
The best part of Fried Berry is that in Spanish it's berry fritado.
Oh, I love it. Related to Nelly Furtado?
Yeah. That's her sister. All right, Katie, what'd you watch this week?
I literally only watched stuff for the podcast, so I'm still
Mostly same.
making my way through King of the Hill.
Making your way downtown.
Yep. And
You sweet
I
on?
think that's
are you,
it.
are you- oh, yeah, you did.
Huh?
You sent me the Snapchat of I'm sweet on you, Connie.
yeah. I'm a little Candyman.
What a fucking good show.
It's
Incredible.
I just am so happy every time I like rewatch it, and I'm just like, oh, it's so great. It's so great.
What about you, Kit?
I watched The Haunted Palace, the Vincent Price
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
That's like really Lovecrafty and done by Corman.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then I watched Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which is the only Mission Impossible I hadn't seen, and it fucking rips.
Was that 4? 4 or 5?
5.
What did we did 6, right? We did the one that's right.
Yes.
Okay. I need to
Yeah.
I've only ever seen 1 and then Fallout, so I still need to go actually watch through all of them.
Some quality stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all
Let me
fucking
tell
great.
ya.
I did not like 1 when it came out, but I was also 14 or some shit when it came out.
Right.
So I probably would change my mind, but it also seems like I feel like because I loved Fallout, and I assume they just get they seem to get progressively more action based than 1 was. So
at least 4 and 5, and then obviously the newest one are more Fallout.
yeah.
I mean, 2 obviously rules because it's John Woo, and then 3 I think is my least favorite, but it's still pretty good because it's got Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I have very distinct memories of the game that came out on N64.
Oh yeah,
movie.
it was so awesome whenever you knock someone out and steal their face.
Yeah. Literally all I watched was stuff for the podcast, and then Purple Rain 4 times. And then just, I don't know, those dumb bullshit on TV. We started watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because it's got Kim Richards.
Was that the
what?
Was that the clip you sent me of the bondage people?
No, that was 90 Day Fiance.
Oh my god.
Even better.
Now, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has Kyle Richards, who's the little girl being babysit in John Carpenter's Halloween, and then Kim Richards is the little girl that is shot in John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. So I was like, all right, I'm in.
Amazing.
But it's also very boring so far, because it's there's, it was one of the first ones of those shows, and so they were trying to make what they thought was actually going, back when reality shows thought they were making documentaries type shit,
Right.
before they get wild. So it's kind of boring at first, but no, that was 90 Day Fiance the other way, I think. Fucking Gino and Jasmine, who's wearing his fucking baseball hat, flogging her
Oh
and
my
shit.
god. What a dumb fucking couple.
Oh my god, there's a scene in the new episode where they're doing bondage shit, but he's got his baseball cap on still, and it's so upsetting.
It's also very obviously I know that they're doing the show, but it's I don't understand how you. It was so awkward.
There's so many times that shit like that happens where I'm there's cameramen in the room with you and producers. What are you doing?
Right, multiple people, and I'm number one, how do you ignore? How do you just go about your life and ignore the camera? If I were a camera person,
Too
I
horny.
feel so awkward, and their interaction between each other was
They're they're
weird.
a fucking bummer couple.
I hated it.
That's not great.
Terrible.
Is that your shout out, Katie?
That whatever we were just talking
Yeah.
about is terrible.
Uh,
No.
What's your shout out?
My shout out is Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Very good.
He
He remembers the Alamo.
It's so. Please go watch it. It's great. I love it.
What about you, Kit?
William Friedkin.
Yeah.
Just go watch any of his movies, but especially watch him being fucking so salty and rude in every interview
Yeah, I was gonna
he's
say,
ever
watch
done. It's the
any
best.
interview with him.
Watch the dude asking him about Al Pacino and see how much he fucking hates Al Pacino.
Oh, yeah.
It's so
Katie
good.
and I talked about it a little bit when we did cruising on the queer horror triple feature we did, where I was he hated Al Pacino.
I don't give a flying fuck into a rolling donut what Al Pacino thinks.
The only one that ever gets shared when anyone talks about him is that fucking Oliver Stone one about DVDs, but it's also very funny, where he's fuck him and fuck Alexander.
Yeah. How the fuck does he know?
I need to watch Sorcerer still. That's one of the
Same.
big ones from him that I still haven't seen.
I'll say I ordered To Live and Die in L.A. and Guardian.
I've seen
yesterday.
To Live and Die in L.A., but it's been a long time. I really I want to do like just a full on like rewatch of his filmography, because there's like I've probably seen like half of them. I've seen like most of his like really big ones, but there's a handful I haven't seen. But Wood King,
The Hunted is a banger, super underrated.
Yeah, I'm gonna say both. I'm jumping on both of those. Go watch Paul Reubens and William Friedkin shit. Like I said, Paul Reubens on 30 Rock was like almost anything Paul Reubens like guest starred in was fucking good. He's so good in like everything. William Friedkin, obviously a fucking banger director. I don't think a lot of his stuff is streaming right now though. I think like maybe
pretty hard to track down.
Cruising's probably still out there on something, and most.
I think it's still on HBO.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do like a box set now or something.
I don't know. That's what sucks is like how many like with the way studios are. It's just like it would be so sick to just get like a full on director box set of like all of their films. But since they're all for different studios, this shit never happens.
Yeah.
All right. Next week, we're pushing Trial of the Screaming Forehead back, but I also realized I can't record next week, so I think Katie and I are going to record something, and then we'll do that the week after. Because my mom's going to be in town, so I will not be recording next week. So probably Batman versus Dracula, I think is what we settled on. And then it'll be Trial of the Screaming Forehead, and then we'll get back into somewhat regular rotation.
We'll see.
We'll get back to some dumb shit real soon.
Some aggravating stuff.
I'm sure Kit and I got some fucking watch list stuff just ready to go.
Oh yeah, just been waiting.
If you would like to support us, you could join our Patreon at patreon.com/IPSufferPodcast. Probably before this episode's out, our bonus episode on Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, Bandy and Pig will be out. We're going to talk about Nick Cage smoke a crack and fucking someone's girlfriend in front of him.
Yikes.
Looking absolutely insane.
Oh my god, just fucking...
And speaking like JFK for a third of the movie for no reason.
His accent change all of a sudden is very fucking was baffling to me.
That's like, what the fuck is happening?
You can buy merch at our store, Frontier Shop. You can follow, or you can leave us a rating and review on iTunes and Spotify. Follow Hidden Kitstery, Kitchification of Blood. Follow Katie at WerewolfFace. You can join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/werewolfface. I think, actually, you can follow me at Gordon Scramsey on stuff, because I deleted Twitter, and now all my shit is the same fucking handle. If you want to find me on places, but also I'm only on like 2 places, so you could also listen to other podcasts, AK Movie Club. Yeah, go watch Mystery Men. I think William Friedkin's in there somewhere.
Definitely.
I'm pretty sure he's
you
in
imagine?
the Not Goody Mob. All right. I hope you are furious, but why?
So angry.
Look who's here. Mystery Man. Mystery Man of the hour, supreme power, devour your whole set. Y'all ain't ready yet, we are the best. Victorious, but anonymous, mysterious. And think it dangerous, they call on us and we go to war. And give the competitor what he asking for. Busting through walls, busting through floors, busting through ceilings, busting through doors. Surprise, here come the good guys, realize it don't stop. The guys in over cell get locked, who needs the cops? We got a hero on our block, we coming to save the day. We won't play, you doing wrong, you won't stay. We make you run away, watch where you lay. Mystery Man, I here to make the world okay. And I can still hear him say,
there's only one thing that I need to know. For those mystery men. There's only one thing that I need to know. For those mystery men.
we got a boost the swoop on these feelings like oof. We got our capes and boots, my troop we group and get loose. Turbo boost the swoop on these feelings like
Coming to get you, one gone, one in the mix, you one in the chrome.
Not for long, one in the picture, mystery man, mad from siege.
The blasphemy, ready to put it down for the block.
Actually, ready to put it down for Champion City. Rolling the Hercules, sitting on 20s.
Beating the town up to the trunk round up. They got Captain Amazing, yo down or what? Shoveler just dug up a pound of her. Disco boys thinking they sounding rough.
Invisible boy in the map, he in the paragraph and a half of those who cross my path. Talking that battle crap, don't make me laugh. All y'all sleeping zombies having these wet dreams of creeping up on me. Wake up in a Maxwell's house, smelling nothing but the fortress crystals.
Cold missiles, your body heat seeking off to your tissue.
Whistle like he casting over with the pistols.
Who are they? Oh, yeah. There's only one thing that I need to know. Those mystery men. There's only one thing that I need to know. Those mystery men.
yeah. Y'all ain't ready yet. Yeah. Y'all ain't ready yet.
There's one thing that I need to know.
What y'all wanna do? What you wanna do? Ha, 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 ha. Two sides like a Gemini. Hard to tell I'm living life like a private eye. You can't get them when they yell about a cry. Why? Go ahead and try to stupefy your brain cells. We good at winning, we good at making our foes fail. Put ground to destroy, separate the men from the boy. Mysterious, we dangerous, beware of us. Spleen, invisible bull, shoveler, it's furious, mysterious. Champion City is ours and we taking it back. The Casanova and his boys know that the mystery men are ready to attack.
There's only one thing that I need to know. Those mystery men. There's only one thing that I need to know. Those mystery men. There's only one thing that I need to know. Those mystery men. There's only one thing that I need to know.
We gonna show y'all how to do it on our side of the block.
Those mystery men. There's only one thing that I need to know. Those mystery men.